y'all doing today?
Great.
Good.
Hi.
Whoa, good to see each of your faces.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm going to give each of you a chance to introduce yourselves in just a minute. But first, for anyone watching this, I wanted to go ahead and separate as many alumni as I could get together in a group, because I often will get questions from people who are at various stages of building their practices, whether they're still in the planning or whether they just opened their doors, or this group I have before me today already had practices that were relatively established when they joined the course. So today I'm going to ask them some questions that I think I get all of the time anyway. So hopefully if you're in the same place as these lovely ladies were when they joined, you'll at least get a sense of whether the program's right for you. So you ladies ready to get started?
Ready.
Okay, I would love for each of you to just quickly introduce yourselves and where you practice, and if you want to give a shout out to your URL and market your own practice as we go. Let's start with Shannon, because she is like to my left, and I'm just going to go in the same order.
Okay. I'm Shannon Walliser. I'm a clinical social worker in Morgantown, West Virginia. My website is mindbodywellnesswv.com, and I love working with adults who have some trauma in their background.
Cool. Welcome. And Katie, you're next.
Hi, I'm Katie Gibbons. I am in O'Fallon, Illinois, near St. Louis. I have a website, katiegibbonscounseling.com, which Laura helped me make beautiful.
Oh, stop. No, keep going.
Oh, I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. I work with teens, adolescents, young adults with trauma, and really trying to niche down right now. I also work a lot with adoption.
Perfect. And JD.
Hi, I'm JD Fergan, and I am the owner of Altitude Counseling, www.altitudecounseling.com. I just recently expanded to a group practice, and my specialty is working with professional women, you know, strong badasses, but on the inside, kind of a hot mess sometimes. So, yeah.
You work with our warm, gooey centers, though, that we don't show to anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. All right, so I'm going to ask you all some questions. I have a couple of notes here. I was looking back through like years of questions of people who are like, I have an established practice. Is this course right for me? So I think that one thing that people would really love to know from each of you is, where were you in your practices when you first joined? And what was it about the program that led you to join at that time? So let's kind of go in the same order. So for you, Shannon, where were you in building your own practice, and what led you to join your Badass Therapy practice?
So last year was actually my 10th year in private practice. And I considered it my 10-year checkup. When I started my private practice, there wasn't a lot of resources. I read books, but there wasn't. And so I knew there was room for improvement. And so, and plus 2018 had kind of been a poor performing year, and I don't remember the reasons. And so 2019, my goal was to redo my website. I was very stuck. You helped me with that. So website, and I wanted to like have a better web presence and better systems.
Yeah. And I remember when we had our one-on-one together, you said, this is really just a checkup for me. Like I feel like I've got a decent handle on things.
Yeah. Like I had stuff, but things are better. They're even better.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. Don't you worry, girl. Katie, where were you in building your practice? And even if you want to share anything that you can remember in terms of like your caseload, and then what led you to join. Give me all the juicy stuff.
The juicy stuff. I'm going to coin the phrase full and fucked, because that is totally where I was. I was a school counselor for years, and I got a call from somebody who had a practice and said, hey, if you're ever thinking of private practice, come join me. And I thought, you know what? Ready for a change. Great. That was 5 years ago. And so 6 months in, I was full. But I was full with people I couldn't stand. I hated my job. Yeah, I made good money, but I was miserable.
Yeah.
And they filled my schedule with anybody. So it was no ideal client, nothing. And I was miserable. And when I initially found your Psychology Today free course, I was like, well, shit, this lady knows what she's talking about. And I think I really was really drawn to control, where I would have control of my practice, my ideal clients, and also the systems. I hated how this quasi agency setting ran things. I didn't agree with it. It's like, I could do this so much better.
Right. So you were working at it sounds like a group private practice, but it felt very stifling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, one day I'd have a new client that was an 85-year-old man struggling with end of life issues. Great if you do that. I work with kids. It's like, I don't know what to do with this person, you know? So it was stifling. It was,
and that'll really mess not only with your creativity, but your confidence, I bet.
Yeah. I kind of was in a very toxic relationship. It felt like, where if I had an idea, I was told I didn't know what I was talking about because, you know, this person did it longer. So just do it that way. And it's like, but no, I don't agree.
And
so
what were you hoping the course would do for you?
Give me control back of my practice. Give me the freedom to develop what I believed, my own thoughts, creativity with clients, interventions, ideal clients, all of that appealed to me so much. But it really was just feeling validated that, you know what, I am a really good therapist and I know what I'm doing. And, you know, BADASS really just affirmed all that and gave me that confidence back.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm gonna like can that up and send that out to people. This is what this program can do. Okay, JD, let's move on to you. So where were you at in terms of your practice when you first joined, and what was it that led you to enroll?
Okay, so I was close to 2 years in to solo private practice. I specialized in working with teens. I was completely full, didn't have any systems in place, was already feeling burnt out, feeling pretty lonely. And, you know, I'm private pay, but I am in a community where a lot of clinicians really undervalue what we do. So I felt like I was getting a lot of judgment for, you know, charging what I charged and not taking insurance and, you know, just these expectations that I needed to present a certain way. And that's not who I am. You know, I don't come from a scarcity mindset. I say fuck sometimes.
As you should.
You know, I value what I do, and I felt really alone in that. And I was at a point where I wanted to completely change my practice. I didn't want to work with teens anymore. You know, my passion was calling me somewhere else, but I didn't know if I could completely start over. And people were telling me, you know, that's crazy. You're already full. Just take whoever comes to you. And it just wasn't feeling right.
Yeah.
So when I needed the validation, I really needed that too. Like, you know, just in reading, you know, the Psychology Today course that I went through, like that really touched my heart, because I am a badass, and it's okay to admit that. And it's okay to walk in my worth and stand in my truth. And I needed the support to do that and the language around it. And I felt like I got that from you. So through the process, I completely changed my niche. I got my systems in place and, you know, have a community now of people that believe in me and people I trust and people that encourage me and, you know, cheer on my inner badass. And that is invaluable to me.
Yeah. That's one common theme that I'm seeing with you ladies is that systems piece, like really being able to clean those up, because you all had already been in practice for a little while. It's not like you were starting over, but you probably realized through being in practice for 2, 5, 10 years that some of your systems were just super janky. but also the validation piece, knowing that you can do this. And if that means leaving a really toxic private practice that's like a group agency, or if that's like admitting that you're having niche burnout and just completely changing course, or just like a tune-up that you need. So let's see here. What were some of your favorite things about the course? You guys have kind of touched on it already, but Shannon?
For me, it was probably the website copy. Like, your method for writing website copy helped me get unstuck.
I remember you feeling stuck.
I was so stuck. I had done a course earlier in 2019, kind of a lower budget with someone who charges a lot to do websites for the mental health field. And they even do copy. And I just wasn't really, like, I had a vision for what I wanted, but I couldn't get it out of my head, and it was so stuck. And then when we got to that week and your method, which was golden, for me, like, things started flowing. And, you know, I have ideas to update and change my website.
Yeah, it's like a never ending process, you know?
Yeah, it'll probably be like a yearly thing.
Yeah.
What was the question? Oh, what we got.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite things about it?
So
website week?
Cleaning up my onboarding system. That was definitely helpful. And probably my all-time favorite thing is the safety within the Your Badass Therapy group Facebook pages. I can be very real and genuine and ask some vulnerable questions that I won't ask other places.
Yeah. Yeah, I've worked really hard to make it a community of people who are just like super supportive. We're all coming from a place of abundance. We'll kick your ass sometimes, but it's always with love. But this isn't a group where we like deal with bullshit or like shaming people. That's not what we're about.
Yeah, and I really, really value that. That's priceless, actually.
Thanks. To speak to the copy part, I think that is a super common struggle that therapists have, where they know what they want it to be in their head, but like there's this weird thing that happens when it goes from their head out of their mouths and it doesn't make sense when they type it up. They're like, this is garbage. Like, what is this? I sound like a robot. So being able to take what's already in here and make it come out onto the pages of your website in a way that is authentic and genuine to you, like that is not an easy thing for people to figure out. So yeah, it's a very common struggle. Katie, what were some of your favorite things about the program?
I'm going to piggyback off Shannon a little bit. I think right away, the first thing that hit me, that was so wonderful, was strong, professional, successful women supporting women. Like that was so wonderful. And from day one, I got that between your interactions of putting things out there, asking for feedback and things to comment on, to celebrating wins on Fridays, Wine Live, that piece was huge. That just made me feel really a part of something versus, well, I'm over here doing all this work, and I wasn't alone in it. So that was a huge piece. But as far as where I was at, and one of my favorite things, I needed all systems because, as I said, somebody else did them. So I had no control. So I started with my EHR and Simple Practice. And I mean, that was just life-changing. But I'll never forget in doing that and putting my clients in and going back, because I would even get like a paycheck because all my insurance went to this person's tax ID and then he wrote me a check. Wow. When I was back going through loading all this information for the year, I found over $3,000 of money he never paid me.
Wow.
And to be able to be like, oh, this is even more reason.
No, yeah.
No.
I worked
when he
damn
wrote
hard
that check,
for that.
When he wrote that check back to me and he was like, oh yeah, I must have been busy. It's like, no, that is too much money to give me I must have been busy. And so that just right there, best thing I'll remember about it. And setting up that system allowed me the client onboarding, linking to the website. Like it just started the flow of everything else. So
girl, you reclaimed your freedom
Yes.
That's what you did. And to speak to your first point about community, like, I think just to reiterate that it's really important that this isn't just a course that you go through all by yourself in complete isolation. It's not self-paced. We're all going through it together at the same time. And you have the alumni of the program who are either choosing to go through it all over again, or they're just there to provide support. Like, I think it's just really important to comment on that, because some programs are more self-paced and they word it like, this is great, you can do it on your own time.
Right.
But then there's no accountability. And then other programs that are maybe like, yeah, we're going to do this together, there is no like checking in along the way, and people are kind of left to their own devices. So I'm glad that you felt the opposite of that here.
Right. Well, and let me just speak to that alumni piece. When you're brand new to it and it is so overwhelming, to see all the people who still work on things, to have these people say, oh, it's my second time, it's my third time, I'm still working on stuff. It really, for me, made me feel like, okay, I'm in a good spot. Like, I don't have to be at point, B or C. I'm okay right here. And I've never heard of a program like that where people come back and stay in it to support new people. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that was accidental. It just happened to work really well. Sometimes I take credit for, my own genius, and other times I'm like, nope, totally accidental, that I was just like, yeah, sure, stay and do it as many times as you want. And then they did. JD, what were some of your favorite things about the course?
A few things. So the support, of course, and the authenticity to the program and the people in the program, and you, Laura. And then also the systems, like, that's not my jam. I'm like a woo-woo, I'm way out here, but I knew that was important. So buckling down and going through the systems like the EHR, which I already had, but I learned a lot how to best utilize that and how to save time for myself, as far as not having to answer the phone as often, because the forms that they could fill out directly from my website gave me all the information I needed. And that was a huge screening tool that saved me hours.
Yeah.
Hours. I get clients every day and I never pick up the phone. It's amazing.
Neither do I. Isn't it great?
And then as far as the part about providing a value to our clients, so, the collaboration and continuity of care with the release of information, that's been super valuable with my clients. And it's been a really great referral source.
Yeah, therapists often miss a huge marketing opportunity where they get to be genuine just by connecting, like authentically connecting with other care providers. It's such a missed opportunity. And I think way too many therapists just operate out of a fishbowl. We're just like in our own little corners of the universe, seeing our clients, where we could utilize all of these other different practitioners who are already serving our clients. So it's like, it's a win-win for everybody. Why don't enough therapists do it? So
right. And I have found that it not only provides a service to my clients, but for me, then I have community support. And I'm not, like you said, in this little fishbowl by myself with a client. Like, I have somebody to collaborate with. Somebody that cares about them as well. That well-rounded continuity of care, like, that is super valuable. And I also liked the part of figuring out your niche, the questions that were asked and the exercises that, were part of that. That was super valuable. Like, I know who my person is. Like, I could tell you what kind of jewelry she wears. Like, it's amazing. And 9 times out of 10, that's who's sitting in front of me.
And that is so amazing. I think, especially in this stage of the game where therapists have maybe been in private practice for a little while, they do get caught up in a scarcity mentality, probably because they do see other therapists in their communities who are still living in that sort of like fixed mind. Yeah, just take everybody. You never know when the well's going to run dry. They don't want to narrow down their niche. They don't really want to think about ideal client stuff, because they're so afraid of limiting themselves. But instead, what they should be thinking about is how liberating it can be to be able to sit across from someone, or at least in this day and age of COVID, over the computer with someone who you genuinely love to see, like looking at your calendar for the week and being like, my God, I love everybody on here. Yeah. That's a really cool thing that we get to do.
And what that does for our clients, you know, like I can tell when somebody's sitting across from me and they're excited to see me and understand me and genuinely like love being around me versus here we go again.
Yeah, I'm just here,
so
you know, checking off.
It's for them as well. It provides a better service for them when we're not tired and annoyed by them.
Totally. So here's the part where I'm going to ask each of you to brag on yourselves a little bit. I don't know if that makes you uncomfortable, but I frankly don't give a shit because I think you all have worked hard for it. So, you know, I've asked you, where were you when you first joined the program? But I think the next $1 million question is, where are they now? So knowing that this is what Simon Sinek would call an infinite game. Like there is no winning. You're just always trying to do better and better. So it's not like any of you have arrived. You know, we're talking with Shannon earlier about our website. It's like all of this is just a continual work in progress. So I'm kind of just catching you at a moment in time. But if you could tell us where you are now, I think that a lot of people watching would love to see the progression. So Shannon, compared to where you were when you first joined the program and where you are now, whatever information you feel comfortable sharing, whether it's caseload or income or just your own like work-life balance, feeling of freedom, whatever it is that you want to share, how you define success, I'd love to know.
Well, there's a couple of things. I actually looked at my numbers and
did you?
I did, and I went up over 30%.
Wow.
So from when the course ended in around September to like the last 3 months of last year. And then I took a 3-week vacation. I think so that like, and another week in May. So I've had basically 4 weeks off in the last 6 months. And that felt good. There was no scarcity. It was really good. And then when COVID hit, when I was on that week off, another thing, I'm right where I want to be. Let me just say that. When COVID hit, the transition to telehealth was relatively easy because I had systems in place. Like I had to put in a lot of work and it was an adjustment.
Right.
I had done 0 telehealth sessions to going from 0
to 100%.
100% literally overnight. Well, through a weekend, but it was overnight and it was a lot. But when I took the week off in May, I just randomly decided to look at commercial real estate in my town, which is crazy expensive. And I found the most amazing office suite that is a half a block from my old suite that has a huge group room, almost a 400 square foot group room and 2 offices and a waiting room, a kitchen. I have a whole floor all to myself.
That's amazing.
And I will share it with people at some point in the future, but I am completely okay in here right now by myself with my boxes that still need some attention, but things are good. Things are really good. And there was when I looked at the number, I was like, totally doable because I was splitting my time between 2 offices and being in this one office is not really much more than what I was paying for 2 offices, and I don't have to commute 20 miles anymore.
Yeah, so your quality of life has gone up drastically.
Yeah. And the other thing is I only get clients that I want to work with. I think JD and Katie both talked about that. Like most clients land on our Psychology Today profile. They literally have to click through to my website because I took off my phone number, getting rid of the scarcity. Email is my least preferred mode of communication, so nobody gets my email address ever. And so they have to click through, and by the time they do that, like they've already self-selected that they're in. Yeah. And when I do a screening call with them, like I might have to give up the screening calls because we're already like wanting to jump in and do therapy.
They've like self-selected and weeded themselves out because those who weren't willing to do the work just don't call you.
No, because they can't figure out where my phone number is.
But those who are like, I need to work with Shannon, they're going to go through your system that you've created for them.
Right. And literally it's click on schedule now.
Yeah. Get this shit done.
Yeah.
Click here.
every once in a while I'll get a phone call and they won't leave a message. And then like 2 minutes later, I get a request in my EHR for a new client consultation. I'm like, oh,
that's who that was. Yeah.
Number matches.
That's awesome.
Message.
So yeah, quality of life, systems are completely streamlined, and your income went up 30%. Oh, and you got basically your dream office by yourself.
Yeah. Wait, well.
No big deal.
I have a part-time person that works for me, but it's 1 night a week, and I'll worry about all that other stuff later. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Now that's a badass life right there. All right, Katie, what about you? Where are you now? Are you full and fucked?
No. And to really explain where I am now, let me give some details into what full and fucked really looked like. I worked Monday to Friday, 10 to 12-hour days each day. I would not get home before 9:30 at night. And I sometimes started at 9 in the morning.
Wow.
I was paneled with 6 insurance companies, some of which only paid me $37 a client. And the cash price set by this group I was in was only $50. So by the time I paid the admin fees and my taxes, I made like $7.
Oh my gosh.
And
I didn't know how fucked you were until this moment.
I was miserable. I was working my ass off, making nothing. Now, after spring of 2018, badass, today I see about 20 to 25 clients a week. I work 4 days a week. I take 5 weeks vacation each year. I only work 1 evening, and that's because there's 2 ideal clients I absolutely love that I love meeting with. And so I don't mind working till 6 o'clock on that evening. And that's my evening, 6 o'clock.
That's your late day.
I have made 2018 and 2019 over 6 figures each year. I am 50% full fee. And the 2 insurance companies I'm on pay $3 less than my full fee. So I stay on them.
Wow.
I am happy. And I love, and now being home, I'm even happier. You know, it's like I got out of that toxic environment. So I love it.
I'm like, what is this mysterious clear liquid forming in my eyeball right now? I don't know. I see a plumber. That is amazing, Katie.
You're broken, Laura.
I don't know. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Absolutely.
I really can't take credit for all that shit though. It's like
you can take credit for a lot.
I'll take a fair share of that, but you really did some work to get to that point. I mean, this wasn't like an overnight things just happened for you.
Right.
You made this happen. Cool. JD, what about you? Where are you now, Miss Group Practice Owner?
Okay. So I just recently expanded to group practice. I have hired 2 clinicians. I just moved into a beautiful 5-office suite space with a kitchenette, and I have a space big enough for groups and yoga and meditation. Very exciting. And at this point, I am done working. I don't start work until 10. I'm done by 4. I work 4 days a week, usually 3 days a week. And I am down to seeing 10 clients. I've raised my fees, and I make just as much now. Actually, I make about 20% more than I did when I started the program.
Wow.
And so I take 3-4 day weekends every weekend, and I take 2-3 week vacations every year, sometimes twice a year. And I just, I'm very happy, very happy.
Man, I love that each of you spoke not only to like your income changes and the growth you've had there or your caseload changes, but you've also all spoken to like that quality of life piece that I think is so often forgotten when people are at a place where they're considering a course like this. Like a lot of them just want to see their bottom line go up. And as you all have seen, it has for each and every one of you. it's just that you've now maybe realized that it was about so much more than that too. Like, yes, the bottom line is important. Yes, I want to support my lifestyle. Yes, I love taking days off. But it's about like, oh my gosh, I can take those days off and not feel guilty and not feel that scarcity. And I love my life and I take 3-4 day weekends all the time. Like, this is our new normal. And I love that each of you spoke to that too. Cool. So one last question. What would you tell somebody who is in the exact same spot that each of you were in when you first joined the program? So whether you were full and fucked, whether you needed a check-in or a checkup, or whether you were just feeling that kind of niche burnout, I need to pivot and change course. What would you tell someone who is feeling that same way right now? So Shannon?
I think I would share, if you're open, if you have an open mind and you want to improve yourself, improve your system, improve your practice, your badass therapy practice is for you. If you're closed-minded, if you don't want support, then probably the wrong place for you.
Yeah, if you think you already know all the answers, then there's nothing I can teach you.
No, we all have things to learn. We all can improve our businesses and our practices. It's not clinical. It's a business, like improving the business side of your practice.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Katie, what about you?
I would say trust your gut. If you kind of buy into the work smarter, not harder philosophy, this is the place for you. To definitely not expect magically to happen overnight. Like you spoke to, Laura, yeah, I've worked my butt off, but I did it because you gave me the guidelines of where to go. And that's the benefit for someone who's full and fucked where I was. It's like, you already know how to see clients, but you need to know how to make it better for yourself. I work smarter now, not harder. And so, yeah, that's what I would tell them.
I help therapists create businesses they don't really need to take a vacation from. You know, it's like, yeah, taking days off is great, but you don't need a practice that's running you.
Right.
Definitely the other way around. Cool. What about for you, JD?
For me, it was, helpful to look at it as an investment in myself, in my family, my well-being, and my future. It was totally worth it. Like, I look back and I remember initially I was like, oh my gosh, to spend anything, when you're in a scarcity mindset is a little scary, but the value in the investment, like, it's 2 years later, and I still am learning from it. I still go back through the modules. I still am connected to you, and where I'm at now from where I was then, that investment is totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it. And to have the support and people to believe in me and to be surrounded by people that believe in themselves and are badass.
Yeah.
Like, that is motivating to me to stay on this path.
Wow. Man, thank you ladies so much for your testimonies. This is just like amazing to hear the kind of growth that each of you have experienced, again, not just in the numbers and the bottom line, but also in your quality of life and how you all are feeling about your day-to-day, and the fact that you can take days off and not feel guilty, that you can make a really great living helping people who you were put on this planet to serve, and that those two are not mutually exclusive. So thank you all so much for your time, and I hope that this helped anyone who's in a similar place to figure out if this course is right for you. So thanks again, ladies.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.